Stop scrolling. You need to hear what I am about to say. If you constantly try to make everyone happy, if you bend over backwards to avoid disappointing people, if your self-worth is tied to how others feel about you, then this message is your wake-up call. Because what you think is kindness is actually self-destruction. What you call being agreeable is quiet surrender. And what you think is keeping the peace is slowly, silently killing your power. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you said no without guilt? When did you disagree openly without anxiety? When did you make a decision purely because it was right for you, not because it would make someone else more comfortable? If you can't remember, you're not being nice. You're being controlled. Controlled by fear of rejection. Controlled by the illusion that approval equals safety. Controlled by a world that rewards compliance, not courage. Niccolò Machiavelli saw this centuries ago. He watched leaders fall, not because they were cruel, but because they were desperate to be liked. Because they confused love with loyalty. Because they didn't understand that when you give people everything they want, they stop respecting you. They start expecting more, and when you finally draw the line, they turn on you. Just like that. People-pleasing is a form of self-erasure. You shrink so others can feel big. You agree so others don't feel challenged. You give until you are empty. And what do you get in return? Temporary peace, shallow praise. A life that doesn't belong to you. A personality shaped by obligation. The truth is, people-pleasing isn't about kindness. It's about fear. Fear of being seen as difficult. Fear of being disliked. Fear of being alone. But here's the reality. The more you fear being alone, the lonelier you become. Because nobody truly knows you. They know your mask. They love your performance. And when you finally try to show them your real face, they walk away because they never fell in love with you. They fell in love with the version of you that always said yes. Here's the first cost of people-pleasing. Your identity. Every time you say yes when you mean no, you chip away at who you are. Every time you agree to avoid conflict, you betray your beliefs. Every time you hold back your truth, you become more invisible. People-pleasing is self-abandonment. You disappear from your own life. You become a ghost that haunts the dreams of others. Machiavelli once said, "A prince must learn how not to be good. That doesn't mean he should be evil. It means he must not be afraid to make decisions that upset people." Because leadership, whether it's in a kingdom or in your own life, requires strength, not submission. It requires clarity, not compliance. You cannot lead yourself or anyone else if your only goal is to be liked. Let me tell you about someone I knew. She was the nicest person in every room. Helpful, polite, accommodating. She was the one who stayed late to fix someone else's mistake. The one who always said, "No problem," when it was absolutely a problem. She kept the peace. She kept everyone happy. But inside, she was drowning. Her career never advanced because she was too agreeable to challenge unfair decisions. Her relationships drained her because she never wanted to appear too needy. Her health suffered because she said yes to everything but rest. And when she finally burned out, nobody understood. They were shocked because she never showed them her boundaries. She never let them know where she ended and they began. That's the trap. When you're a people pleaser, you train the world to ignore your needs. You make yourself invisible. And when you finally break down, people act like it came out of nowhere. They didn't see your suffering because you never let them. You thought your silence was noble, but it wasn't noble. The second cost of people pleasing is resentment. You smile when you want to scream. You agree when you want to protest. You help when you need help. And the pressure builds. It simmers under your skin. Every unspoken no becomes a weight. Every fake yes becomes a chain. Until one day you explode, or implode, or walk away from everything without explanation. Because you never learned how to speak your truth calmly, so it came out violently. Machiavelli wrote, "It is much safer to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." Most people misunderstand this. He wasn't saying to be cruel. He was saying that respect is a more reliable currency than affection. Because respect doesn't depend on mood. It doesn't change with convenience. When people respect you, they think twice before crossing you. When they only like you, they step on you without hesitation. Ask yourself this. Would you rather be respected and sometimes misunderstood, or liked and constantly used? Would you rather be known for your truth or your agreeableness? Because you can't have both. You can't be radically authentic and universally liked. The cost of people-pleasing is your voice, your values, your visibility. It's your dreams delayed and your needs denied. It's your life lived in service of someone else's comfort. I want you to imagine something. Imagine if you started saying no. Imagine if you stopped apologizing for existing. Imagine if you spoke up when something felt wrong, even if it made people uncomfortable. What would your life look like? Who would still be in it? Who would leave? Who would respect you more? That's the secret nobody tells you. The moment you stop pleasing people, the people who only liked you for your compliance will leave. But the ones who stay, they're the ones worth keeping. They're the ones who respect your truth, who want you whole, not hollow, who value your boundaries, not just your benefits. The third cost of people pleasing is power. When your decisions are based on approval, you give everyone else control. You hand over your energy, your time, your focus. You become reactive instead of intentional. You start living someone else's script. And the scariest part? You think it's your choice. You think you're choosing kindness. But really, you're choosing chains. Power doesn't come from domination. It comes from direction, from clarity, from knowing who you are and acting from that place, regardless of whether people cheer or boo. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. He knew that true influence doesn't come from popularity. It comes from principle, from strategic alignment, from knowing when to bend and when to hold the line. You cannot control how others see you. You can only control what you stand for. And if you spend your life bending to avoid offense, you'll never stand tall enough to be seen. People-pleasing steals your strength. It robs you of your edge. It turns your fire into smoke. And all the while, you tell yourself you're doing the right thing. But what if the right thing is saying no? What if the right thing is walking away? What if the right thing is upsetting someone today to protect your peace for the next 10 years? You were not born to be agreeable. You were born to be alive. And sometimes being alive means disrupting expectations. Sometimes it means being misunderstood. Sometimes it means being the villain in someone else's story, so you can be the hero in your own. Machiavelli said, "The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves." Therefore, one must be a fox to recognize traps and a lion to frighten wolves. You need both. You need the cunning to know when you're being manipulated and the courage to stop it. You need the wisdom to know when kindness is being weaponized against you. You need the strength to stop giving when it starts to cost your soul. In a world that teaches you to make yourself small, being honest is a revolution. In a society that rewards politeness over principle, speaking your truth is power. You will be called selfish. You will be labeled difficult. You will be told you've changed. And that's how you know you're growing. People-pleasing is not your destiny. It is a habit, and habits can be broken. It starts with one boundary, one no, one moment of silence instead of agreement, one refusal to explain yourself to someone who has no right to ask. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I choose truth over approval. Say it again. I choose truth over approval. Because from today, you stop giving yourself away piece by piece. From today, you stop selling your soul for applause. From today, you stop being agreeable and start being aligned. Now that you've seen the cost of people pleasing your identity, your power, your peace, it's time to take it back. No one is coming to save you from the pattern. You built it. And that's the good news, because that means you can unbuild it too. People pleasing isn't permanent. It's a survival strategy that outlived its usefulness. You used it to stay safe, to stay connected, to stay needed. But now it's destroying you. And you know it. So here's where it ends. First, let us talk about guilt, the invisible leash that keeps you saying yes when everything inside you is screaming no. Guilt isn't always a sign of wrongdoing. Sometimes it is a sign that you re-stepping out of a cage you were never meant to live in. When you set a boundary and feel guilty, that's not your conscience. That's conditioning. Conditioning that told you other people's comfort matters more than your truth. Conditioning that said being good means never being inconvenient. But here's the truth. Real goodness requires clarity. It requires limits. It requires you to be honest, even when that honesty disappoints someone. And if guilt is the price of self-respect, then pay it. Machiavelli said, "He who seeks to be good at all times will come to ruin among the great number who are not good." Understand this. In a world where people use guilt as a weapon, learning to tolerate guilt is a form of armor. When you stop letting guilt steer your choices, you become dangerous. In the best way, you become free. Now let's talk about your energy. When you say yes to things that drain you, you're writing a check your soul can't cash. You think you're being generous. You think you're helping. But really, you're leaking. You're giving away your energy for applause, for approval, for peace that never lasts. Stop. Your energy is your currency. Guard it like gold. Not everyone deserves your time. Not every crisis deserves your involvement. Not every request deserves a response. Machiavelli advised rulers to appear merciful, faithful, humane, sincere, religious, but be ready to act against those qualities when needed. That's not hypocrisy. That's wisdom. Be kind, yes, but not all the time. Be generous, but not to your own detriment. Be open-hearted, but not open access. Strategic goodness is real goodness. Blind goodness is self-betrayal. You don't need to be cruel. You need to be clear. That means saying no without a soft cushion of 300 explanations. That means saying, "I won't be able to help this time," and letting the silence sit. That means canceling plans when you're exhausted and not offering a detailed list of your reasons. That means letting people misunderstand you rather than rushing to fix their image of you. Every time you defend your boundaries, you teach people what self-respect looks like. And if they punish you for that, you just learn something important about who they are. Now we get to the hardest part, accepting loss. Because when you stop people pleasing, people will leave. The ones who were attached to the version of you that always said yes, who depended on your silence, who fed off your need to be needed, they will fall away. Let them. That's the cost of becoming real. That's the price of truth. And what you gain in return is not just freedom, it's alignment. The people who remain will be the ones who value your presence, not your performance. They'll respect your honesty, not just your availability. They'll love you for who you are, not for how useful you've been to them. Machiavelli said, "Men in general judge more from appearances than from reality." All men have eyes, but few have the gift of penetration. You don't need to be seen by everyone. You need to be seen by the right ones. And that starts when you stop bending yourself into the shape of who you think they want you to be. So how do you live this way? You learn to pause. You stop answering immediately. You give yourself space to feel, to ask, is this request aligned with who I want to be? If not, you decline, with grace or with silence. But you decline. You learn to check your motives. Before you say yes, you ask, am I doing this out of fear or from strength? If it's fear of being disliked, judged, abandoned, that's a no. If it has strength, because you truly want to do it, and it costs you nothing essential, that's a yes. You learn to observe your resentment. Resentment is a map. Every place you feel, it is a place where you've been giving without integrity. Resentment points to the lie you've been living. Follow it, and it'll lead you straight to the boundary that needs to be built. You learn to expect discomfort. People-pleasing is addictive because it offers short-term ease. Saying yes feels good for 5 minutes, but it costs you 5 days of inner conflict. Saying no might feel hard for 5 minutes, but it gives you 5 days of peace. That's the exchange. That's the upgrade. You learn to tolerate being misunderstood. This is the ultimate skill. When you people please, you live in constant fear of being seen as mean, selfish, rude. You think your job is to manage everyone's opinion of you, but it's not. Your job is to manage your alignment with yourself. You will be misunderstood. You will be called difficult. You will disappoint people, and still you will survive. In fact, you'll thrive, because for the first time, you'll belong to yourself. Machiavelli knew something most people never learn. Survival comes first. Legacy comes next. You cannot build a legacy of peace, purpose, or power if you are constantly at war with your own needs. You cannot lead anyone, your family, your team, your community, if you are lost inside your own life. You have to reclaim your throne before you can rule. And people-pleasing is the fastest way to give that throne away. So reclaim it. With quiet decisions, with firm boundaries, with unapologetic no's, with honest yeses, with rest, with truth, with presence, with power. Your kindness does not need to come with your self-abandonment. Your love does not need to be paid for with your exhaustion. You can be both generous and guarded, warm and wise, open and discerning. You don't have to choose between being kind and being strong. But if you do have to choose strength first, because strength is what allows you to be kind on your own terms. Drop this in the comments. I protect my power. Say it again. I protect my power. Because from today, you no longer live for approval. You live for alignment. From today, you no longer give yourself away. You choose, you decide, you direct. You are no longer the echo of everyone else's expectations. You are the voice, the decision, the truth. Your people-pleasing era is over. Let the real you begin.